Jack Miller stared out the viewport at the vast expanse of stars. After 3 weeks in cryosleep, he had finally arrived at Galactic Outpost Zeta 9. The massive space station hung against the backdrop of a swirling nebula, its metal arms extending like a giant snowflake. Lights twinkled along its surface, marking the homes and workplaces of over 4,000 beings from across the galaxy. Jack took a deep breath. He was the first human ever assigned to this outpost, chosen because of his skills in language and culture. Back on Earth, he had studied how different groups of people lived together. Now he would use those same skills with aliens. The shuttle docked with a gentle bump. Jack gathered his few belongings and walked toward the airlock. His heart beat faster as the door slid open. This was it, his new home. The welcome wasn't what he expected. 3 security officers waited for him, their non-human features tense. The tallest one, with blue scale-like skin and 4 arms, stepped forward. "Human Jack Miller, I am Chief Security Officer Grax. Please follow our protocols. No sudden movements." Jack nodded slowly. "I understand. Thank you for meeting me." As they led him through the station, Jack noticed how other aliens moved away when they saw him. Some whispered to each other. Others simply stared with their various kinds of eyes. One small childlike being with green fur actually hid behind its parent. In the main hall, a large screen displayed information in multiple languages. Jack spotted the word human and paused to read. The translation wasn't perfect, but he understood enough. Warning: Station now hosts human representative. Humans evolved on high-gravity death world. Exercise caution. Is there a problem? Officer Grax asked. "No problem," Jack said, continuing to walk. But inside, he felt a sinking feeling. The reputation of humans had preceded him. After a brief meeting with the station commander, a tall insect-like being named Director Vril, Jack was shown to his quarters. The room was basic but comfortable, with adjustments made for human needs. "Your access is limited for the first month," Officer Grax explained. "Standard procedure for potentially dangerous species." "Dangerous?" Jack asked. "I'm a cultural liaison, not a soldier." Officer Grax's 4 arms shifted uncomfortably. "Your species has an unusual history of warfare, and your physical capabilities are concerning. The gravity on your world is nearly twice that of most habitable planets. Your bones and muscles reflect this." Jack wanted to argue but chose to stay calm. "I hope to show everyone that humans are peaceful. We want to be part of the galactic community." After the security team left, Jack unpacked his things. He placed a small photo of his family on the desk, along with a few books. From his personal items, he took out a small potted plant, a simple ivy from Earth. The station allowed 1 plant per resident, and Jack had chosen one that was hardy and could live a long time in space. That night, Jack couldn't sleep. He checked the station's information network and found what many species were saying about humans. The translations were rough, but the meaning was clear: bloodthirsty, unpredictable, dangerous. One report described humans as creatures who smile to show aggression, a complete misunderstanding of human expressions. Another warned that humans could continue fighting even when injured enough to kill most civilized beings. Jack sighed and shut off the screen. Changing these views would not be easy, but as he looked out at the stars, he made himself a promise. He would show them who humans really were. Not through words, but through actions. Day by day, he would earn their trust. Tomorrow would be his first full day on Zeta 9, and Jack was determined to make it count. Jack had been on Galactic Outpost Zeta 9 for 3 months now. Things were slowly getting better. Some aliens no longer moved to the other side of the corridor when they saw him coming. A few even nodded in greeting. Small steps, but progress nonetheless. Every day, Jack spent time in the central garden area. It was a large open space with plants from different worlds growing together. The garden had become his favorite place on the station. Here, he could watch the different aliens go about their daily lives without seeming like he was staring. It was in the garden that Jack first noticed her. a Celesti female, sitting alone by the artificial pond. The Celesti were beautiful beings with skin that seemed almost see-through and gave off a soft light. They usually moved in groups of 5 or 6, their skin lights blinking in patterns as they communicated. But this one was always alone. Day after day, Jack saw her there. While other Celesti passed by in their tight groups, none ever acknowledged her. She would sit quietly, watching the water or reading from a small device. Sometimes her skin would glow with shifting colors that seemed sad somehow. After 2 weeks of observation, Jack approached the information desk in the main hall. The attendant, a small purple alien with 3 eyes, tensed as Jack walked up. "Can I help you, human?" the attendant asked, all 3 eyes blinking rapidly. "I'm curious about the Celesti," Jack said calmly. "I notice they always travel in groups, but there's one who is always alone. Is that normal?" The attendant's middle eye narrowed. "You mean Nylari? She is different." "Different how?" "Her light patterns are wrong. Celesti communication depends on proper light patterns. Hers do not follow the correct rhythms. They say she cannot properly connect to the group mind." The attendant leaned forward. "Why do you ask about her, human?" Jack shrugged. "Just curious. Thank you for the information." That evening, Jack did some research. The Celesti were a highly social species with a mild form of telepathic connection among their kind. Their light patterns weren't just for show. They helped strengthen the psychic bond between individuals. Someone with irregular patterns would be considered handicapped, unable to fully participate in their society. The next day, Jack went to the garden at his usual time. Nylari was there, sitting by the pond. Today her skin glowed with soft blues and purples. Jack walked slowly toward her, making sure she could see him coming. When he was about 10 feet away, her skin flashed bright yellow, a warning color, Jack had learned. "Hello," Jack said, stopping where he was. "I'm Jack Miller, the human cultural liaison. May I sit here?" He pointed to a bench about 6 feet from hers. Nylari stared at him with large, silvery eyes. Her skin pulsed rapidly with yellow and orange lights. After a long moment, she gave a small nod. Jack sat down carefully, trying to move slowly. For several minutes, they just sat in silence. Jack didn't stare at her, instead watching the small fish-like creatures swooning in the pond. "Why does human sit near Nylari?" Her voice was soft and musical, though her English was broken. "I noticed you're always alone," Jack said honestly. "So am I." Her skin rippled with a pattern of blue and green. "Others fear human. They say you are dangerous. They call you bloodthirsty." Jack sighed. "And the Celesti avoid you because your light patterns are different. It seems we're both outsiders." Nylari was quiet for a long moment. Then her skin glowed with a gentle pink light. "Outsiders," she repeated, as if testing the word. "Yes, Nylari and human are outsiders." It wasn't much of a conversation, but it was a start. As Jack left the garden that day, he felt hopeful for the first time since arriving on the station. Maybe being feared by everyone else could become the common ground for an unlikely friendship. Over the next few weeks, Jack made it a habit to sit near Nylari in the garden. At first, they just sat in comfortable silence. Then they began to share small bits of conversation. Jack learned that Nylari worked in the station's astronomy department, mapping star patterns and calculating jump points for ships. "Stars have patterns," she told him one day, "like celestial lights, but stars do not judge if pattern is wrong." Jack nodded, understanding her meaning. "Stars accept all patterns." "Yes," she said, her skin glowing with a gentle blue light. "Stars are kind." One day, Jack brought a small puzzle cube from Earth. It was a simple toy where colored blocks could slide and turn to create different patterns. When he showed it to Nylari, her skin flashed with bright colors of interest. "This is like celestial lights," she said, turning the cube in her slender fingers. "But fixed, not flowing." "It's a game," Jack explained. "You try to make each side all one color." Nylari worked on the puzzle, her fingers moving with surprising speed. Her skin pulsed with concentration, showing patterns Jack had never seen before. When she solved the puzzle faster than most humans could, Jack laughed with delight. "You're very good at pattern recognition," he said. "It is why I work with stars. Patterns are my strength, even if my own patterns are wrong." Jack frowned. "I don't think your patterns are wrong. They're just different." Nylari's skin dimmed slightly. Different is wrong for Celeste. After that day, their friendship grew stronger. Jack began to recognize meaning in some of Nylari's light patterns. Bright yellow meant surprise. Soft pink showed happiness. Deep blue indicated sadness or worry. Though he couldn't see all the complex patterns that other Celeste could, he began to understand her emotions. One evening, Jack invited Nylari to the station's community dining hall. It was a big step. They had only met in the garden before. The dining hall was always crowded with aliens from all species. When they entered together, conversation stopped. All types of alien eyes turned to watch the human and the outcast Celeste. Jack felt Nylari's anxiety in the rapid flashes of her skin. "We can go somewhere else," he whispered. "No," she said firmly. "Nylari is not afraid." They found a table in the corner. Jack got food for both of them, making sure to select dishes that were safe for Celeste digestion. As they ate, the stares gradually lessened, though Jack noticed several Celeste on the far side of the room, their skin flashing in what seemed like angry patterns. "Your people don't approve of you eating with me," Jack observed. Nylari's skin rippled with a pattern Jack hadn't seen before. "They say human will hurt Nylari. Say human is dangerous." She paused, looking directly at him with her large silver eyes. "But Nylari sees truth. Jack is kind, not dangerous." Jack smiled, touched by her trust. "Thank you. That means a lot to me." As they finished their meal, Officer Grax approached their table. The security chief looked uncomfortable, all four arms held stiffly at his sides. "Human Jack Miller," he said formally. "Several residents have expressed concern about your friendship with the Celeste female." "Her name is Nylari," Jack said calmly, "and we're just having dinner. Nevertheless, I must ask if the Celeste is here willingly or if she feels coerced." Before Jack could respond, Nylari's skin flashed bright red. "Nylari chooses friends. Human Jack is friend. Others should mind own business." Officer Grax stepped back, surprised by her outburst. "Very well. Enjoy your meal." He walked away, but Jack noticed he remained in the dining hall, watching them. "Thank you for standing up for me," Jack said quietly. Nylari's skin settled into a soft pink glow. Outsiders must protect each other. The Earth calendar moved into December, and Jack began to feel homesick. Back on Earth, people would be putting up decorations, shopping for gifts, and planning family gatherings. Here on Galactic Outpost Zeta 9, it was just another series of days. After getting permission from Director Frill, Jack set up a small area in his quarters with Earth holiday decorations. He had brought a few items with him: a small artificial tree, some colored lights, and a few ornaments. It wasn't much, but it made his room feel more like home. One evening, Nylari came to visit him. Their friendship had grown, and they often spent time in each other's quarters now. When she saw the decorations, her skin flashed with bright yellow lights of surprise. "What is this?" she asked, pointing to the tree. "It's a Christmas tree," Jack explained. "Christmas is a holiday on Earth. We celebrate it in December." "What is holiday?" Jack thought about how to explain it simply. "A special day when people come together. We give gifts, share food, and spend time with people we care about." Nylari moved closer to the tree, examining the small ornaments. "Why tree inside room?" "It's a tradition. Long ago, people would bring evergreen trees inside during winter to remind them that life continues even in the cold months. Now it's just something we do to celebrate." "And these?" Nylari pointed to the small wrapped boxes Jack had placed under the tree. "Those are presents, gifts for friends. On Christmas Day, people exchanged these gifts. Nilari's skin pulsed with various colors. Nilari does not understand. Why give things away? To show people that you care about them, Jack said. It makes both people happy, the one who gives and the one who receives. The next day, Jack asked Director Vril for permission to host a small Christmas gathering. To his surprise, the director agreed. Cultural exchange is part of your mission, human Jack Miller, Director Vril said, his mandibles clicking. But keep it small, no more than 10 guests. Jack was thrilled. He sent invitations to the few aliens he had become friendly with, including Nilari, Officer Grax, and some of his coworkers. He spent his free time preparing, making decorations from available materials, and planning simple games that beings from different species could enjoy. 3 days before the gathering, Jack overheard a conversation in the corridor outside his quarters. "The human is planning some kind of ritual," said a voice Jack didn't recognize. "I heard it involves bringing dead plants inside and exchanging mysterious packages," said another voice. "It could be dangerous. Humans have strange customs. Some of them might be violent." Jack sighed. Even after months on the station, the misunderstandings continued. He stepped out into the corridor. 2 aliens, one tall and spindly, one short and covered in fur, jumped in surprise. "I couldn't help overhearing," Jack said calmly. "Christmas isn't dangerous. It's about friendship and kindness." The aliens looked embarrassed, but still suspicious. "Then why do humans call it Christmas?" In our translation, Christ means the Anointed One, and Mass means death. Is it a death ritual? Jack had to stop himself from laughing. "No, that's not what it means at all. Would you like to come to my gathering? You can see for yourselves." The aliens declined hurriedly and walked away. Jack watched them go, feeling disappointed. Later, when he told Nilari about the encounter, her skin glowed with soft blue sympathy. "Many fear what they do not understand," she said. "Jack must not give up." "I won't," he promised. "And I've been meaning to ask, would you like to help me prepare for the gathering? I could use your eye for color and pattern." Nilari's skin lit up with bright pink happiness. Yes, Nilari would like that very much. As they walked together to Jack's quarters, he noticed a group of Celesti watching them, their skin flashing with disapproving patterns. But for once, Nilari didn't seem to care. Her own light patterns stayed steady and bright as she walked beside her human friend. The day of Jack's Christmas gathering arrived. He had decorated the small community room with paper snowflakes, strings of colored lights, and a few branches from the garden arranged to look like a tree. Nilari had helped him make ornaments from spare parts found in the recycling center. Together, they had created something special. Only 4 guests showed up. Nilari, Officer Grax, a plant-like alien named Frond who worked in the garden, and a small blue alien called Pip who ran the station's message system. Jack tried not to feel disappointed about the low turnout. "Thank you all for coming," Jack said, smiling at his guests. "On Earth, we often start gatherings by sharing food." He had spent his personal credits on food that all species present could eat. There were sweet fruits, savory protein cubes, and a special treat, cookies shaped like stars that Jack had convinced the station's food service to make. As they ate, Jack explained more about Christmas traditions. He told them about Santa Claus, singing carols, and making snow angels. His guests listened with varying degrees of interest and confusion. "So this Santa being breaks into homes while people sleep?" Officer Grax asked, his 4 arms crossed defensively. No, Jack laughed. "It's just a story we tell children. Santa represents generosity and kindness." Frond raised a leafy appendage. "You mentioned gift exchange. Is this mandatory?" "Not at all," Jack assured them. "Gifts are given freely, with no expectation of return." This concept seemed to confuse his guests the most. In many alien cultures, gift-giving created obligations or social debts. The idea of giving with no expectation of return was strange to them. After they ate, Jack taught them a simple Earth game where they passed a small object around while music played. When the music stopped, whoever held the object had to answer a question about their own culture. Through this game, Jack learned that Officer Grax's people molted their outer skin once a year, that Fran's species communicated through sense, and that Pip's people lived in underwater caves on their home world. When it was Nailori's turn, she hesitated before speaking. Celesti light patterns tell our life story. Each Celesti has unique pattern from birth, but pattern must follow rules. Her skin dimmed slightly. Nailori's pattern breaks rules. This is why Nailori is alone. Jack felt a wave of empathy for her. I think your patterns are beautiful, he said softly. The gathering ended earlier than Jack had hoped, but he still felt it was a success. His guests had tried new foods, learned about Earth customs, and shared something of themselves. As they left, Jack gave each one a small handmade gift, simple items he had crafted in his free time. After the others left, Nailori stayed behind to help clean up. As they worked, she seemed distracted, her skin flashing with colors that Jack had come to recognize as indicating deep thought. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. "Nailori is thinking about Christmas gifts," she said. "This is important to humans." "It's not about the gift itself," Jack explained. "It's about showing someone you care about them. The best gifts come from understanding what would make someone happy." Nailori nodded slowly, her lights pulsing gently. Nailori understands. The next morning, Jack noticed Nailori wasn't in the garden at her usual time. When he went to the astronomy department to find her, her coworker said she had taken personal leave time. For the next few days, Jack barely saw Nailori. When they did meet briefly in the corridors, she seemed secretive, her skin flashing with excited yellows and pinks before she hurried away. Jack wondered what she was up to, but he didn't press her for answers. He was busy with his own secret project, a special Christmas gift for Nailori, something that would show her how much her friendship meant to him during his lonely months on the station. 3 days before Christmas, a warning alarm sounded throughout the station. Jack was in his quarters, putting the finishing touches on Nailori's gift, when the lights flashed red and a voice came over the speakers. "Attention all residents. A solar flare has been detected. Shield systems are at reduced capacity. Please move to interior sections of the station. Emergency teams report to your stations." Jack quickly secured his project and headed out. As a representative of Earth, he wasn't officially part of any emergency team, but he wanted to help if possible. He made his way to the Central Command area, where Director Vril was coordinating the response. "Human Jack Miller," Director Vril said when he noticed Jack. "Why are you here?" "I want to help," Jack said simply. Director Vril's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of stress. "The outer hull in Section 12 has been damaged. Repair teams are having difficulty because of the radiation. Your species has higher radiation tolerance than most. You could be useful." Jack nodded. "Tell me what to do." Soon Jack was suited up in protective gear, heading to Section 12 with a repair team. The corridor leading to the damaged area was hot and filled with crackling energy from the solar flare. The team leader, a stocky alien named Burke, explained the situation. "The main power conduit was hit. We need to reroute the energy flow, or the whole section will lose life support." Jack followed Burke's team into the damaged area. The heat was intense, even through his suit. The other team members moved slowly, clearly struggling with the conditions. Jack, whose body had evolved on Earth with its higher gravity and more extreme weather, found he could withstand the environment better than his companions. "The manual override is there." Burke pointed to a panel on the far wall, near the worst of the damage. "Someone needs to hold the switch while we reset the main system." The team looked at each other nervously. Holding the switch meant standing directly in the path of the radiation leak. Even with suits, it was dangerous. "I'll do it," Jack volunteered. Burke looked relieved. "Thank you, human. Hold it for 60 seconds after we start the reset." Jack moved to the panel and gripped the switch. On Burke's signal, He pulled it down and held it firmly. Immediately, he felt the increased heat and radiation. His suit's warning system beeped rapidly. Through the pain, Jack held on. He counted in his head. 10 seconds. 20 seconds. The suit was getting hotter. 30 seconds. 40 seconds. His vision began to blur, but he didn't let go. Just a few more seconds, Burke called. At 58 seconds, Jack heard a loud crack. A support beam above him had broken free. He looked up just in time to see it falling directly toward a figure he hadn't noticed before. Nylari stood frozen in shock, her skin flashing bright orange fear colors. She had come to help with the repairs, and now she was in danger. Without thinking, Jack released the switch and lunged forward. He reached Nylari just as the beam came down, pushing her clear with one hand while raising his other arm to block the falling metal. The beam hit Jack's arm with terrible force. He felt a sharp pain, then numbness. Nylari was safe, but Jack was now pinned against the wall, the heavy beam trapping his arm. "Jack!" Nylari cried, her skin pulsing with distress. "The switch," Jack gasped. "Someone needs to hold the switch." Nylari didn't hesitate. She darted to the panel and grabbed the switch, pulling it down just as the systems began to fail again. Her slender body trembled with the effort, but she held on. Burke and the team rushed to help Jack. Together, they lifted the beam enough for him to pull free. His arm hung limp at his side, clearly broken. "We need to get you both to medical," Burke said urgently. As they helped Jack toward the exit, he looked back at Nylari, still holding the switch, her skin glowing with determination despite the danger. "Just 20 more seconds," Burke told her. "Then run." Jack felt a wave of pride watching her. In that moment, he knew their friendship was something special, something worth all the pain. Jack woke up in the medical bay. His arm was wrapped in a healing sleeve, a device that sped up the natural healing process. The pain was dull now, pushed away by medicine. He tried to sit up and found it harder than expected. "Please remain still, human patient," said a medical worker, a tall, thin alien with 6 eyes. "Your body needs rest." "How long have I been here?" Jack asked. 14 hours. "Your arm was badly damaged, but it will heal. Your species has remarkable recovery abilities." Jack looked around the medical bay. Other injured crew members were being treated, but he didn't see Nylari. "The Celesti female who was with me, is she okay?" The medical worker checked a screen. She was exposed to radiation but not severely injured. She was released after treatment. Jack felt relieved. He wanted to go find her, to make sure she was truly all right, but the medical worker insisted he stay for more treatment. Reluctantly, Jack agreed to remain for another few hours. It was late evening when Jack was finally allowed to return to his quarters. The station was quiet, with many areas still under repair. When he reached his door, he found a small package waiting. There was no note, but somehow Jack knew it was from Nylari. Inside his room, Jack carefully opened the package. It contained a small device he didn't recognize, about the size of his palm, with a smooth surface that seemed to glow faintly. Jack set it on his desk, wondering what it might be. The next day was December 24, Christmas Eve. The station had returned to normal operations, though repair work continued in Section 12. Jack spent the morning finishing Nylari's gift, working carefully with his good arm. His injured arm was healing quickly but still sore. Jack went to all the usual places looking for Nylari: the garden, the astronomy department, the dining hall, but couldn't find her. None of the other Celesti would tell him where she was. Some even turned away when they saw him coming, their skin flashing with patterns he couldn't read. Worried, Jack went to Officer Grax. "I can't find Nylari. Is she okay?" Officer Grax seemed uncomfortable. "The Celesti female is in her quarters. Her people have concerns about her continued association with you." "What? Why?" "The incident yesterday. You put yourself in danger to save her. The Celesti Elders believe she is placing herself at risk by being your friend. Officer Grax shifted his forearms nervously. They say humans are unpredictable and violent. That's not fair, Jack protested. I was trying to help her. By throwing yourself into danger in a way that most species would consider irrational. The Celesti value logical behavior. Your actions, while brave, seem extreme to them. Jack couldn't believe what he was hearing. So they're keeping her away from me. She's an adult. They can't make those decisions for her. It is their way, Officer Grax said simply. Frustrated, Jack returned to his quarters. He looked at the gift he had made for Nilari, wondering if he would even get a chance to give it to her. Then he remembered the strange device she had left for him. Jack picked it up, examining it more closely. It had no buttons or switches that he could see. As he held it, the surface began to glow more brightly, responding to his touch. Suddenly, the device projected a small hologram. It showed Earth's solar system in perfect detail. The Sun, all 8 planets, even the asteroid belt. Jack watched in amazement as the hologram slowly rotated, showing the planets moving in their orbits. At the center, Earth glowed with a special brightness. Jack realized what this was. A star map of his home system, created using the astronomical data that Nilari worked with every day. She had made this for him, knowing how much he missed Earth. It was her Christmas gift to him. Tears filled Jack's eyes. Even separated from him, even under pressure from her people, Nilari had found a way to show her friendship. He had to find a way to see her, to thank her, to give her the gift he had made. Christmas was tomorrow. Jack would not let Nilari spend it alone. Jack woke up in the medical bay. His arm was wrapped in a healing sleeve, a device that sped up the natural healing process. The pain was dull now, pushed away by medicine. He tried to sit up and found it harder than expected. Please remain still, human patient, said a medical worker, a tall, thin alien with 6 eyes. Your body needs rest. How long have I been here? Jack asked. 14 hours. Your arm was badly damaged, but it will heal. Your species has remarkable recovery abilities. Jack looked around the medical bay. Other injured crew members were being treated, but he didn't see Nilari. The Celesti female who was with me, is she okay? The medical worker checked a screen. She was exposed to radiation, but not severely injured. She was released after treatment. Jack felt relieved. He wanted to go find her, to make sure she was truly all right, but the medical worker insisted he stay for more treatment. Reluctantly, Jack agreed to remain for another few hours. It was late evening when Jack was finally allowed to return to his quarters. The station was quiet, with many areas still under repair. When he reached his door, he found a small package waiting. There was no note, but somehow Jack knew it was from Nilari. Inside his room, Jack carefully opened the package. It contained a small device he didn't recognize, about the size of his palm, with a smooth surface that seemed to glow faintly. Jack set it on his desk, wondering what it might be. The next day was December 24, Christmas Eve. The station had returned to normal operations, though repair work continued in Section 12. Jack spent the morning finishing Nilari's gift, working carefully with his good arm. His injured arm was healing quickly but still sore. Jack went to all the usual places looking for Nilari. The garden, the astronomy department, the dining hall, but couldn't find her. None of the other Celesti would tell him where she was. Some even turned away when they saw him coming, their skin flashing with patterns he couldn't read. Worried, Jack went to Officer Grax. I can't find Nilari. Is she okay? Officer Grax seemed uncomfortable. The Celesti female is in her quarters. Her people have concerns about her continued association with you. What? Why? The incident yesterday. You put yourself in danger to save her. The Celesti elders believe she is placing herself at risk by being your friend. Officer Grax shifted his forearms nervously. They say humans are unpredictable and violent. That's not fair, Jack protested. I was trying to help her. By throwing yourself into danger in a way that most species would consider irrational. The Celesti value logical behavior. Your actions, while brave, seem extreme to them. Jack couldn't believe what he was hearing. So they're keeping her away from me. She's an adult. They can't make those decisions for her. It is their way, Officer Grax said simply. Frustrated, Jack returned to his quarters. He looked at the gift he had made for Nilari, wondering if he would even get a chance to give it to her. Then he remembered the strange device she had left for him. Jack picked it up, examining it more closely. It had no buttons or switches that he could see. As he held it, the surface began to glow more brightly, responding to his touch. Suddenly, the device projected a small hologram. It showed Earth's solar system in perfect detail. The sun, all 8 planets, even the asteroid belt. Jack watched in amazement as the hologram slowly rotated, showing the planets moving in their orbits. At the center, Earth glowed with a special brightness. Jack realized what this was, a star map of his home system, created using the astronomical data that Nilari worked with every day. She had made this for him, knowing how much he missed Earth. It was her Christmas gift to him. Tears filled Jack's eyes. Even separated from him, even under pressure from her people, Nilari had found a way to show her friendship. He had to find a way to see her, to thank her, to give her the gift he had made. Christmas was tomorrow. Jack would not let Nilari spend it alone.